That's love, man.
It sounds horrible.
Of course it's horrible. It's suffering and it's pain and it's, you know, you lose weight and then you put back on weight and then you call them a bunch of times and you try and email and then they move or they change their email. But that's just love.
It's Sunday Morning on CBS. And here again is Jane Pauley.
A serious moment for actor Paul Rudd opposite Steve Carell in the comedy The 40-Year-Old Virgin. He can be serious. He can be comic. He can even be a superhero, as Tracy Smith shows us in our Sunday profile.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Ant-Man.
Ant-Man? What, you haven't heard of me?
At 49, actor Paul Rudd might not seem like the superhero type. As the Marvel comic book hero Ant-Man, he doesn't really have any superpowers. The magic suit does all the work.
What the hell?
You have to know how to punch.
I was in prison for 3 years. I know how to punch.
Show me.
For his part, Rudd is valiant.
Terrible.
You want to show me how to punch? Show me.
And vulnerable.
That's how you punch.
It's a combination that's made him a star. Daddy! From action films to rom-coms, Paul Rudd has quietly become one of the biggest names in Hollywood, the drinking buddy with a certain sex appeal.
Slap at the bass, mama.
Most celebrity interviews are done in fancy hotels. Paul took us to McCoy's, the tiny New York City bar where he's been a regular for years.
I don't know, 15 years ago, did you ever fathom being a Marvel superhero?
No, of course not. I figured early on this was what I wanted to do for a job, and I certainly hoped it would work out and that I would be playing lots of different parts, but I don't think I anticipated being an ant.
Ant-Man and the Wasp teaming up.
In this summer's sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's equal parts Avenger and punching bag. Again, not your typical superhero, but Paul Rudd hasn't exactly led a typical life. You often hear about celebrities with traumatic childhoods. That wasn't the case here. Paul Rudd's British-born parents, Michael and Gloria, made their home a happy one. It was also a bit transient. Dad was an airline exec who moved the family around a lot, settling in Kansas City when Paul was 10. By then, he was used to being the new kid.
I think I learned early on that if I can somehow make people laugh, I'm not going to get beat up and I can maybe be accepted into a group a little bit easier.
Did you get beat up?
I didn't get beat up, no, but I always felt a little bit on the outside. You know, certainly in Kansas, and being Jewish was a bit of an anomaly in the town that I lived in and the school that I went to. So I think I always felt a little bit on the periphery of things.
He wound up at the University of Kansas and raised money for acting school, working, appropriately enough, with ham.
You did some interesting jobs. You glazed hams?
Yeah. With glazing hams, there was more than just a basic glaze. I had to. It was a full day. A torch and a sugar sifter. And it's a kind of a repeated motion of sift, you know, just the back of it. You get a rhythm down. That's where the art comes in. And then you got to wrap it and weigh it and get it out front. Because especially during the holiday season, those hams it's a quick turnover.
But those early jobs teach you something, right? I mean, did your parents...
Well, they taught me that I don't want to glaze hams for a living.
I guess.
Hey, James Bond. In America, we drive on the right side of the road.
I am. You try driving in platforms.
By 1995, Paul Rudd wasn't in Kansas anymore. In Clueless, opposite Alicia Silverstone, he took his place as one of the film industry's leading romantic funny guys.
Are you saying you care about me?
Josh. It's interesting because you got Clueless, and a lot of people say that was the breakout role for you, right? I would imagine that the world kind of opened up as far as movie roles. And it was then that you said, I'm going to go to New York and do some theater.
Yeah. Much to the chagrin of my agents.
Still, the play he was in won a Tony, and he found a few other things to do.
Really, I'm a pretty nice guy. Just ask my parole officer.
In the space of a decade, Rudd went from guest star...
Apparently I'm not a funny guy.
to movie star.
Have you ever thought about killing me?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Sure.
How would you do it?
Wood chipper.
A wood chipper?
Yeah.
A wood chipper?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Did you see Fargo?
Yeah.
No wood chippers here. Paul and his real-life wife, Julie, have been married for 15 years, and they have 2 children, Jack and Darby. Of course, the Rudd story has some sadder moments, too. Paul was especially close to his dad, who died of cancer in 2008.
When your dad passed away, how did it change how you looked at the world?
Well, it just knocked my world off its axis. And you have these weird thoughts. It's like, today's the first day of my life my father hasn't been alive. Like, I'm on Earth and he's not on Earth. And I just remember having lunch a week later with a friend of mine who had lost his dad. And he said, you'll never get over it, but you will get through it. And that's certainly the case. I mean, I'm not over it, but, and there's, you know, like I have a daughter, and my dad didn't even know he would have had a granddaughter. And it's like, that's just unacceptable.
It is.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, and you get on with your life.
Here comes the first pitch.
Dad might be especially proud of this. Paul Rudd is co-founder of something called The Big Slick, an annual weekend of fundraising to benefit Kansas City's Children's Mercy Hospital.
Whoa!
The whole Rudd family gets into the act. Paul's sister Mandy helps run the show. Nephew Henry is the bat boy. And the lady in the striped dress is Paul's mom, Gloria.
What does this event mean to you? Gosh, besides really hard work, but it's a labor of love.
We truly do pinch ourselves and get chills when we get to talk about the fact that we actually get to be a part of this.
Yeah.
So
we
drank
drank the Kool-Aid.
For Paul himself, it's clearly more than just another photo op. Before the game, he and his pals spent a few hours with the kids at Mercy, and being Ant-Man really meant something.
I would go into those hospitals for years, and the kids were always so nice, and they didn't know who I was. They weren't really old enough to see any of the Apatow stuff, any of the rated R comedies. And then Ant-Man changed that, and so now these kids are aware of who I am, and it makes the visits with them like it's really fun for all of us.
This year, the Big Slick raised more than $2 million in a single weekend, and all of it goes straight to the hospital.
Now, I know this is a huge group effort, but I have to ask you as sister and mom to just brag a little bit about Paul. Oh,
That guy.
that guy. He's pretty incredible, which, I'm biased anyway. And there are many moments in life when you have a child where you have a proud moment. And when I see him with anybody's children, is when I love him the most.
And around here, you might say they feel the same way.
Right there,
You got an arm.
Paul Rudd doesn't really have superpowers. But then again, maybe he does.
What's up, buddy?